For almost 2 decades, Arsenal fans have lived in the shadow of disappointment. From being invincibles in 2004 to struggling through years of mediocrity, the Gunners have always had that reputation. Beautiful football, but not enough steel to finish the job. They'd be praised for style, mocked for their collapses, and written off as title pretenders whenever the pressure got real. But now, the narrative is dead. Arsenal are no longer the nearly men. They're not outsiders or dark horses. Arsenal are the favorites to win the Premier League this season, and they might just shock the world by winning the Champions League too. Sounds crazy? Not really. Look at the squad. Look at the signings. Look at the way this team is built. They've added finishing power with Victor Gilchrist, control in midfield with Martin Zubimendi, and depth out wide with Mani Madueke. They already had a young, world-class core in Odegaard, Rice, Saliba, and Saka. Put it all together, and you don't just have a team that can compete. You have a squad that can dominate at home and in Europe. Let's be real. Manchester City's aura of invincibility has cracked. Liverpool are in transition. Chelsea are still a mess, and United are inconsistent. Arsenal are positioned not just to compete, but to take over. If you don't believe me yet, let's break it down. To understand why Arsenal are favorites now, you have to understand the transformation under Mikel Arteta. Because this is not the same Arsenal that used to collapse every March. This is not the same Arsenal that played pretty football but had no backbone. This is a machine, structured, disciplined, and ruthless. Well, when Arteta took over in 2019, Arsenal were a mess. They were finishing 8th in the league, playing with no identity, and drifting further from Europe's elite. Within 5 years, Arteta has rebuilt Arsenal from the ground up. He ripped out the old culture and replaced it with something new: accountability, work ethic, and belief. Players who couldn't meet the standard were shown the door. Veterans like Ozil and Aubameyang were shipped out. Younger players like Saka, Smith Rowe, and Martinelli were trusted. That gamble worked. By 2022-2023 season, Arsenal shocked the league by pushing Man City all the way in the title race. By 2023-2024, they proved it wasn't just a fluke, finishing just 2 points behind Pep's juggernaut. And now in 2024-2025, Arsenal are no longer the project. They're the finished article. Defensive structure is elite. William Saliba and Gabriel have formed one of the best center-back duos in the world. Declan Rice, who cost £105 million, has been worth every penny, shielding the backline, progressing play, and showing why he's already one of the best midfielders on the planet. And then there's Martin Odegaard, the captain who embodies everything about this Arsenal side: creativity, work rate, leadership, and that little bit of magic that wins games. He didn't have the best season last season, but he's coming back for vengeance. But here's the difference. In the past, Arsenal have always looked one piece short. Whether it was a striker who couldn't finish chances, depth in midfield, or reinforcements on the wings, something was missing. That's why last season they pushed City and Liverpool, but couldn't quite finish. That's why they felt short in Europe. But this summer, Arsenal plugged every gap. And that's why I'm telling you now, this team isn't coming for second place. They're coming for everything. Every great title-winning team has that one summer where everything clicks. For Man City, it was signing Ruben Dias and Rodrigue and making their defense unbreakable. For Liverpool, it was in Alisson and Van Dijk. For Arsenal, that summer was now. Because this window didn't just improve their squad, it completed it. Let's start with the biggest signing of them all, Victor Gilchrist. For years, Arsenal fans begged for a proper number 9, someone who could bully defenders, finish chances, and give them another dimension when the tiki-taka stuff didn't work. Gabriel Jesus is a brilliant player, pressing machine, link-up king, but he's not a 25-a-goal season striker. Eddie Nketiah, he has heart, but he clearly wasn't world-class. And Kai Havertz, too inconsistent. That's where Gilchrist changes everything. Coming off a ridiculous season at Sporting where he scored 43 goals and added 15 assists across all competitions, Gilchrist arrived at Arsenal with one mission: score the goals that win titles. And it's not just about numbers, it's about how he scores them. He's strong enough to pin defenders like a prime Drogba. He's fast enough to strengthen backlines like Haaland. And he's clinical enough inside the box to turn half chances into goals. Think about it. Arsenal already had one of the best creators in the league in Odegaard, one of the best wide men in the world in Saka, and a dynamic runner in Martinelli. Add Gyökeres, who is a striker who can finish every type of chance, and suddenly Arsenal's attack becomes unstoppable. He isn't just a goal scorer, he's a chaos engine. Defenders can't push up because they'll run behind. They can't sit deep because they'll hold the ball and bring runners into play. In short, Arsenal finally have their striker, and history tells us when a great team finds its true number 9, everything changes. Just look at what Haaland did for City. That's the kind of impact goalkeepers can have for Arsenal. Now, scoring goals is one thing, winning titles is another. To do that, you need control in midfield, and that's where Martin Zubimendi comes in. Last season, Arsenal leaned heavily on Declan Rice, as Odegaard didn't perform. He was a destroyer, the tempo setter, and at times the only shield in front of the defense. Against elite sides in Europe, that left Arsenal vulnerable. They could be bullied in midfield, or stretched out of the position. With Zubimendi, that problem is solved. He's not flashy. He won't score screamers or dribble past 5 players, but what he does is control matches. He keeps the ball moving, breaks up play, and gives Arsenal stability in possession. When Rice bombs forward, Zubimendi stays. When Odegaard wants to drift wide, Zubimendi anchors. He's the kind of player that you don't notice until he's not there, and that's why he's so important. In Europe, especially this signing could be the difference. Against Real Madrid, Bayern, or PSG, Arsenal now have a midfield that won't be overwhelmed. Against City, they have the tools to match Pep's control. It's a quiet signing, but it might just be the one that wins Champions League. Let's talk about Madueke. Some people have questioned this signing. Arsenal already have Saka on the right wing, so why add another? But if last season proved anything, it's Arsenal can't rely on one winger to carry their attack. They've had injuries and they need more depth. Saka has been incredible, arguably the best winger in the world, but he's been overplayed. By the end of the season, he looked worn, and he obviously had that big injury. Opponents know they can't contain him. Arsenal's attack slows down. That's where Madueke comes in. He brings in something different. He's direct, fearless, and unpredictable. He can cut inside and shoot or take defenders to the byline. He's not just cover for Saka, he's competition. And that's huge, because now Arsenal can rotate without losing quality. They can throw on Madueke in late in games and stretch their tired defenses. They can even play him on the left or centrally if needed. It's depth, it's variety, it's another weapon for Arteta in the biggest games. Moving on, Arsenal's newest signing, Eberechi Eze. Eze would be the kind of signing that takes Arsenal from complete to untouchable. While Odegaard runs the show in midfield and Saka provides width on right, Eze could give Arsenal that predictable spark on the left, as in number 10. His dribbling ability, close control, and flair in tight spaces would unlock low blocks, something Arsenal still struggle against at times. Add in his eye for goal and set-piece threat, and suddenly Arteta has a player who can change games within a single moment of brilliance. In a squad already stacked with structure, discipline, and balance, Eze would add the chaos factor, exactly the ingredient Arsenal need to break down Europe's best defenses and truly complete the squad. When you put it all together, these signings filled every gap. Last season, Arsenal lacked a true striker. Now they have Gyökeres. They lacked midfield balance. Now they have Zubimendi. They have lacked attacking depth. Now they have Madueke and Eze. This isn't the Arsenal of old, who looked 1 or 2 players short. This is a team built to win the Premier League and compete with Europe's elite. The timing couldn't be better, because while Arsenal are peaking, their rivals are slipping. For 2 straight seasons, Arsenal pushed City and Liverpool to the edge. They were the only team that made Pep Guardiola sweat. But every time, Arsenal just fell short. Critics say they didn't have the squad depth. They didn't have the killer striker. They didn't have the mentality to go the distance. Well, guess what? Those excuses are gone now. This Arsenal is different. Let's be real ball City for a second. Yes, they're still incredible. They've got Haaland, but De Bruyne's gone. They got Foden and Rodri, superstars all over the pitch. But for the first time in years, the cracks are starting to show, and we saw that last season. Bernardo Silva has been flirting with a move away. Even Pep himself looks more restless than usual. And remember, Liverpool, they had a great season, but they're also in transition. Chelsea are rebuilding, United are getting consistent, and Spurs, well, Spurs are Spurs. The league is wide open, and Arsenal are the team best built to take advantage as soon as they get through Liverpool. What wins league titles? Consistency. Not just beating the big teams, but smashing the mid-table sides week after week. Last season, Arsenal dropped points against teams like Fulham and Aston Villa. That's where the title was lost. Not against City, but in those small slip-ups. This year, with Gilchrist leading the line, those games turned into wins. Think about it. When Arsenal are 0-0 at halftime against a low block, they don't have to force Saka or Martinelli to create something out of nothing. They've got a striker who can bully defenders, win headers, and score scrappy goals. They've got Eze and Madueke to apply that depth. That's how you turn draws into wins, and those are the margins that win a Premier League title. Defensively, Arsenal have always been rock solid. Saliba and Gabriel don't just defend, they dominate. They're young, athletic, and composed. Timber has quietly become one of the best right-backs in the league, while Calafiori gives them that inverted option to overload the midfield. Add in Miles Lewis. Coming back from injury, you've got elite depth across the back line. No other team in the league has this balance between attack and defense. This is where Arsenal pull ahead of everyone. Arsenal have Rice, Odegaard, and Zubimendi, three midfielders who bring totally different qualities. Rice gives you power and control, and he can score some goals as we saw last season. Odegaard gives you creativity and leadership. He had a bad season, but he's coming for vengeance. Zubimendi gives you balance and intelligence. Together they form from the most complete midfield in England. It's not about controlling games, it's about flexibility. Arteta can play Rice as the lone six if he wants to get aggressive. He can pair Rice and Zubimendi if he wants stability. He can push Odegaard higher when they need goals. Whatever the situation, Arsenal have the tools and the players to adapt. One of the main criticisms of Arsenal the last 2 years was depth. When Saka got tired, when he got injured, he had no replacement. When Saliba got injured, the whole defense crumbled. That's why City always had the edge. Liverpool always had the edge. They could rotate without dropping quality. This year, Arsenal can finally do the same. Madueke provides backup for Saka. Havertz can rotate with Odegaard or play as false nine. Timber gives them another option in defense. And of course, as you know, can also give them another option. Trossard is going to be off the bench now too, who quietly delivered clutch goals all season. Arteta now has something he's never had before, the ability to rest players and still win games. That's massive. Over a 38-game season, that's the difference between finishing second and finishing first. Everybody complained last season about how the team was after they got injured, and now that's going to change. Maybe the biggest difference isn't tactical, it's the mentality. Arsenal have gone up. They have Champions League experience now. This isn't a young team just happy to be competing anymore. This is a battle-hardened squad that knows what it feels like to fall short and is obsessed with not letting it happen again. Last year, they didn't collapse. They didn't fade away like in 2022, 2023. They stayed with Liverpool until the very end. And that kind of experience matters. You can feel it in Odegaard's leadership. You can see it in Rice's fire. You can feel it in Arteta's press conferences. His team isn't scared anymore. They're hungry. And let's be real, Arsenal's fan base is starving for this. The Emirates have gone from being a library to being one of the loudest, most intimidating grounds in the league. When Arsenal are in a title race, the energy around the club is unmatched. That support matters. That belief matters. And this season, with all their signings, it might just carry more of the line. Almost 2 decades, Arsenal fans have lived with the memory of that one heartbreaking night in Paris. 2006, Barcelona. Samuel Eto'o and Giuliano Belletti breaking Gooner hearts. Since then, Arsenal's relationship with the Champions League has been defined by disappointment. Group stage struggles, humiliations against Bayern Munich, and obviously last year against PSG. But at least PSG went on to win the whole thing. But now, everything has changed. For the first time since that invincible era, Arsenal look like they belong at Europe's top table. And not just as participants, but as genuine contenders. Let's start with the basics. Knockout football isn't the same as the Premier League. In Europe, it's about control, maturity, and moments of brilliance. Arsenal now have all three. With Saliba and Gabriel at the back, Arsenal can go toe-to-toe with any attack in Europe. With Rice and Zubimendi anchoring the midfielder, they have the stability to slow down the game when needed. And with Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and of course Gilchrist, they have the firepower to create and finish the kind of key moments that decide ties. This isn't the Arsenal of old who'd collapse under pressure. This is an Arsenal team that has learned how to grind out results, how to defend deep when necessary, and how to punish teams on the counter. That's exactly what you need to go far in the Champions League. And this is where Gilchrist comes back into the story. Because in the Champions League, you need that striker who can change games out of nowhere. Gilchrist went crazy last season, and we saw what he did against City. Drogba did it for Chelsea. Benzema did it for Madrid. Lewandowski did it for Bayern. And now Gilchrist can do it for Arsenal. European nights are decided by small margins. One corner, one cross, one mistake. Gilchrist gives Arsenal the ability to punish those moments. He's strong enough to bully defenders like Upamecano, Marquinhos, and Ramo. He's fast enough to run in behind lines like Madrid's. He's clinical enough to score with one chance. For years, Arsenal said, if only we had a striker, and now they do. And in Europe, that could be the difference between quarterfinal exits and lifting the trophy. The squad is one thing, but let's not forget about the manager. We can't underestimate Arteta here. People forget he was Pep Guardiola's right-hand man during City's championship struggles and their eventual breakthrough. He knows how Pep thinks, how he prepares, and how he adjusts. The knowledge is priceless. Arteta has also grown as a coach. He's no longer just Pep's student. He's developed his own philosophy, his own identity, and a tactical flexibility that makes Arsenal dangerous. He's not scared to play pragmatic football when needed. Against Bayern, he'll set up differently than against Madrid. That adaptability is exactly what you need to go all the way in Europe. And finally, the pressure factor. For years, Arsenal were criticized as mentally weak. The bottle jobs tag followed them everywhere. But this team, they've shed that skin. They've survived title races. They've gone toe-to-toe with the best. They've won big knockout games, and they've proven they can handle the spotlight. Players like Rice, Odegaard, and Saliba aren't fazed by the pressure anymore. In fact, they thrive on it. With a squad this deep, no single injury or suspension will derail the campaign. That's what makes them dangerous. Imagine it, a Champions League final. Arsenal walking out with that cannon crest, hearing the anthem echo in the stadium. Saka and Odegaard leading them. Rice roaring in midfield. Gilchrist standing tall as an over 9 Arsenal fans have prayed for. And then after nearly 2 decades of heartbreak, the trophy finally comes home. It sounds like a dream, but it's not far-fetched. For the first time since 2006, Arsenal have a squad that can realistically go all the way.